through Seagroves. This is my movie review on Glory, featuring Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, and Morgan Freeman. I am in Miss French's 6th period AP World class at Carborough High School.
Hi, I'm Tobias. Follow me on Twitter at Adam_Tobias3. This is my project. Me and Drew, actually. 6th period, AP World, Miss French, Carborough High School. We're both 16. I don't know what I have in that class right now, but it's not that great. This is my movie review of Frost Nixon.
In the movie, Robert Shaw, played by Matthew Broderick, was the commanding officer of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. They were the first African American regiment in the Civil War and in the United States Army history. And they went on to train and then later fight in Fort Wagner, which was a historical fight and battle. And they died. During the time period of my movie, Abraham Lincoln was the president, in which he signed the Emancipation Proclamation allowing blacks to fight in the army.
Wait, what? Presidents? Talking about presidents?
Ha! Yeah!
My movie was about a president, Richard Nixon. My movie was about the journalist, David Frost, interviewing Richard Nixon about 3 years after he resigned as president. And the interviews were trying to find out what really happened in the Watergate scandal. By the end of the movie, David Frost gets former President Richard Nixon to admit that he was part of the Watergate scandal cover-up.
My favorite part of the movie was at the end when they started fighting against the Confederate soldiers at Fort Wagner. It was awesome.
Why'd you like it?
It was so violent and crazy. There were explosions. What you like?
What I liked about my movie was how the suspense built the entire time.
What?
The interviews kept me guessing the whole time. Was he part of the cover-up? Was he not part of the cover-up? Did he do it? Did he not do it? Who knows? Now that I think about it, you know what sucked? This movie is more about David Frost than Richard Nixon. Like, if I was making a movie, and I had to pick between David Frost and Richard Nixon, who would I think would have the more interesting life? Duh, Richard Nixon, dummy.
Say what now? I said what now?
You know why? Silly. In case you didn't know, Richard Nixon was a president. One of 44. David Frost was just a mere journalist. How many journalists do you know? I know, millions. Millions on millions on millions.
Now that I think about it, I can't really think of anything that was bad about my movie. I loved my movie.
Man, there had to be something you didn't like. Put a little extra thought into it.
Alright, dude. Now you say that, let me put a little more thought into it.
You're funny. Now here comes the chorus. Let the music play, you won't get away. Just get new and
Whew. After all that dancing, I finally figured out what my least favorite part was. To be honest, throughout the whole movie, they trained a lot. They kind of dragged on that whole training sequence for way too long. They didn't even start fighting until the very end of the movie. I mean, come on. Seriously, man. If you're not going to show the fighting until the very end, at least make the beginning interesting. They didn't even do that. Even though I did like the movie still.
We're not going to open up some questions to the audience. Anyone have questions? Oh yeah, you right there with the funny haircut.
Yes. Drew Seagroves, the sixth period Miss French class. So I have a question for both of you. What do you think about the historical accuracy of your movies?
Why? That was a great question, sir. Do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, dude, sure. Wait. Ah, dude, forgot what I was gonna say. How about you go first?
Well, I'd say my movie was mostly accurate. There were just a couple things I'd like to point out. The main thing was the climax of the movie. The climax of the movie had Richard Nixon admitting to be part of the Watergate scandal. However, in real life, in the real Frost-Nixon interviews, this never happened. He never actually admitted to being part of the cover-up, but due to the interviews, the evidence was so strong against them that the general public opinion was that he was involved. The second thing is how the interviewer, David Frost, felt about each interview. According to his girlfriend at the time, he was very pleased with how each interview was going, and he knew that every step was a step towards finding out their golden truth about what really happened. However, in the movie, it shows him getting more and more upset after every interview after not getting the pieces of information that he wanted. But I think this was a vital piece of directing by the director because it really built up the suspense. And when he finally admitted to it, you didn't think it was actually going to happen, and it provided a great climax. What you got to say, young blood?
Well, yes, I do. In the movie, the 54th Regiment was formed before Christmas in the year of 1862, where in real life, the soldiers were not formed together until after the Emancipation Proclamation was created, which was in January of 1863, meaning that the soldiers would have had more time to prepare for the battle, thus meaning they were more ready and more experienced rather than they were in real life. This was important because in the movie, much of the training was the main storyline, and without this, the story would have been much shorter and there would have been much less to the movie. Another important fact was, in the movie, while under the command of Colonel Montgomery in South Carolina, Colonel Shaw and his men were ordered to destroy a city and take all the valuable items from the people in the city, where in reality, the government and the military were not so corrupt during this time period, and this was only added due to the fact that there would not have been an important time period between the training and the Battle of Fort Wagner to help create a more interesting story. So they had to add that in to make it more interesting. Well, aside from those two main parts, there are only a few other inaccuracies throughout the movie. The movie overall was very accurate in the fact that they portrayed the movie very well, and all the characters were well described and mainly accurate compared to the actual people.
I too found a lot of my movie very accurate. Some examples of this accuracy were the designs, the clothing designs that the people were wearing. In an interview with David Frost's girlfriend, she said that the clothing was very accurate to what they were actually wearing at the time. Another thing that was very accurate, she said, was how difficult it was for them to get the funds together to pay Richard Nixon for actually doing this interview for them.
So are there any more questions for us? Oh, yes. You, ma'am? With the scarf?
Hey babies, I got a question to ask. Who should this movie be recommended to be the viewers? Who is the target audience for these movies? I guess I'll answer that question. Well, for me, I would recommend a little bit older of a viewing audience, someone who knows a little bit about the Watergate scandal going into it. So I'd say people around late teens and higher, just so that they can understand the information that's going on in the movie.
That was a good question. Honestly, I'd recommend it to someone that was around during this event. I'm just playing. But I recommend it to just about anybody. Mainly people who know some U.S. history, know a little about the Civil War. But I think just about anybody would like this movie. Maybe some younger kids,
not so much because it's kind of violence and got a little language, but I think if you're that kind of parent, it'd be okay.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Drew.
And thank you for watching our project, our movie review project. Good night and good luck.
Stay classy, San Diego.